all of creation, all of us play, all animals play, and we play. One of the things that I find interesting about humans is that our brains continue to develop our whole lifespan. And so we have the capacity to play our whole lives. But like other things, we have to choose. And so we have to choose to play, and when we do, that further develops our brain. Father Benson, our founder, said that God's call is progressive. So I think that's appropriate to say that play is perpetual, and it's something that we choose. And as we choose to play, we continue to literally create our brains, and we also continue to grow spiritually, to become more fully the people God made us to be. And that those are people who, there's always something more. God is more and calls us into things further.
Play for at least half an hour today. How does it feel?
Two things I really enjoy are photography and baking, especially baking bread. And I enjoy these things for two reasons. One, they're very generative and very, very creative. They're hands-on, eyes-on. I'm using my heart and my eyes and my senses, and with the bread making, my sense of smell. Something I also really value is there's closure on these things. My life, and maybe it's true for you, has a lot of interaction with people. And all of us are works in progress, and there's never closure. I never come to an end. But having some avocational things that are creative, generative, and which I can finish and say, not unlike we read in the Genesis creation account, this is it, and it's good, it's terrific. Makes all the difference.
What is your favorite project?
Seeing it as we're brothers, monks, dressed in black, one might get the impression, particularly when seeing us in church, that there could be no playfulness here whatsoever, that we're sad and solemn, we're talking heads of wisdom and sobriety. But I find oftentimes that the liturgy is a time for playfulness. That's particularly when there's a spontaneity about it, when we enter into it with a spirit of discovery or exploration, seeing what happens. I think also in Genesis, when God has created the heavens and the earth, He's then creating creatures to be companions with the first human, with Adam, and just delighting in what Adam names them, giving them names. And in the liturgy, I think we have the opportunity to create spontaneously and see what comes out of it, to see what God is creating in us and around us. And it comes in companionship with others. It's in the companionship with others. I think my favorite moments in the liturgy are when there's something that may catch somebody's sense of humor in a way that it doesn't for others. And there's a spontaneous kind of response that may get my attention back to the fact that when we are particularly in making Eucharist, we're engaged in a kind of divine act of play. That the Eucharist is an enactment of all that God has done for us. We're playing creation, we're playing salvation, we're playing eternal glory, and I don't think that's very far from the kinds of ways in which I played as a child when I would inevitably be the friar or the monk when we were playing knights and or Robin Hood. drawing it all together into a spontaneous act of joy, losing ourselves in the moment. That's to play.
In playtime today, risk getting lost. What happened?
Some of the things that I do for play um, may look like I'm working. I could get completely lost on a nice afternoon in the beehives, or amazingly enough, I love to shovel the chicken coop out. It looks like work, and to a certain extent it is, but it's something that I can become completely consumed by, and in a sense be set on fire by. Now it's strange to think of shoveling out a chicken coop as setting me on fire, but I can be completely lost. I can completely lose myself in that, and in a funny way. By doing something like that, by getting completely lost, I become completely present to the moment, and I think in that way become fire or become consumed.
What helps you relax and to be fully present in the moment?
Um, One retreat day, I was out at Mount Auburn Cemetery, and I got caught in a thunderstorm. And initially, I hunkered down under a big tree, trying to stay dry, and then realized there's no way I'm going to get home and not get wet, so let's just go. And so I went to there's the tower on the hill in the cemetery. So I went there and went up the tower. And then it was this great day. There was all these succession of thunderstorms. And so I was up there and it was clear, and then another one came and I got to watch the downpour. And it was glorious. I mean, I was in this tower, and so the psalm came to mind about, "You are my tower of refuge, my stronghold." And I really felt it being in the midst of this storm there. And I wanted to stay there. I just wanted to stay there. But then I also realized I was due to be back in church to pray. So I left, and then it was so amazing to go through the cemetery and get really soaked as I went back to the monastery. And there was thunder and lightning, and there were huge puddles on the way back going along Mount Auburn Street, which I splashed in. And it was really delightful. And I loved it. It was a turning point for me, such that now my brothers know that if there's a thunderstorm, I'm likely to go out in it, because I find that in that sense of play, I really connect with God in a deep way, and it's one of the ways I can let loose. I can be very stoic and serious, and brothers noticed too that when I started doing this, there was a difference. And so I've tried to keep this going and now look for opportunities to play, which I find comes with precipitation. I can also get lost in snow shoveling or ice picking. There's something in that also really captures my attention. And so going out in the middle of snow or of rain, that's where a part of my child comes out and I can play. And so I look for opportunities like that when I can.
What activities take you outside of yourself?
I don't know. I think I think a little bit of the playfulness of God is actually coming to learn about your own creation. In other words, getting in touch with who God created you to be, and in that there's there's just kind of this adventure of discovery. And Father Benson actually tells a little story, I think, in Instructions on the Religious Life, where he talks about, here God is like the adult. God is like the mama sitting there who knows all of this stuff already that the toddler is amazed at, but yet the toddler is coming up with a ball and coming up and bringing it to the mother's lap and go, look, a ball, and the mother is sitting there going, oh, how wonderful, and is just delighting in the fact that the toddler loves the ball. And said, Father Benson's message was that I think God delights in us being delighted, just like a mother who's sitting there delighting in the fact that her baby loves the ball.
What has surprised and delighted you most recently?
I often find that I get to play in the monastic life when I'm meditating on Scripture. Because I find there's a playfulness to the poetry, to the images, to everything that's there. My favorite play image is actually the creation of the world. In Genesis, there are two accounts. There's a story of God by fiat or by word creating things in this very magisterial kind of way. But it's followed by a second one in which I find God is in the cosmic sandbox, if you will. There's the ground with the moisture rising up below and beginnings of vegetation, and God playing with the red earth, making the first earth being. I can see God delighting in it, like a small child in the sandbox, having created something that they've never made before. In a recent retreat that we had, our community retreat, Brother Luke invited us to play. And he passed on to us some homemade clay. I found a wonderful time playing and being the creator God by creating an earth being out of clay and then breathing into it the breath of life. Perhaps that's an image for your Lent as well, to play, to allow yourselves to be molded as clay, but also to play yourself as the creator God.
Book yourself a play date. What do you do?